Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Vortex Podcast. Everybody has a vortex, and I want to find out about yours. Today, we have a very special guest. I'm not going to pronounce her last name because it's too difficult. I will let her do that because I don't want to butcher it here. But Sasha is a TV and film actor, a member of the Two Comma Club, an award-winning marketer, homeschool mom of four, about to be five, and creator of Live Delusionally by Good Marketing, where she mixes marketing strategy with embodied mindset and manifestation. You know, I love that, to mentor her clients into out of this world growth. We are so happy to have you here, Sasha. Pronounce your last name for us so I don't mess it up.
Stokey Schlossberg. When I first got married, I was afraid to say it all out loud. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna stutter on my own name.
Yeah. Well, I'll practice it, and the next time we talk, I'll be ready to go. So happy you're here. I can't wait to find out about what makes you tick, how your business has developed, and everything behind the scenes. So give us your intro, give us your why, give us how long have you been doing this work? Tell us about you.
It's funny. My husband and I started 10 years ago. We were waiting tables as actors, and a lot of other actors have like side hustles. And we neither one of us, right? I mean, he had a few, but nothing that was like scalable or like we could make money to have a family. And so
Yeah.
we'd started doing real estate tests because we joke that in LA, everybody becomes either a realtor or a Pilates instructor, and I have tight hamstrings. So we're like, all right, it's a realtor.
Yeah.
But the thing for us is that we just kept following. In hindsight, I get it. We just kept following whatever the next logical step was. So for us, the next logical step was network marketing because we were invited by industry people.
Yeah.
Because to us it was like, okay, we're like we'd taken two of the three tests, and it wasn't some crazy like soul yes. It was like this makes sense. And so then when we got to the next thing that made sense, we're like, yeah, we'll do this with that. We know more people that at the time it was a skincare thing. We're like, we know more people that have skin than need homes, so this makes sense. And it's
Yeah.
so we just kept following step by step like that, and in the greater service of others, ideally. Like that was, we weren't, a lot of people just like, how do I make money online and become what I call mercenary marketers, where they're just selling whatever will make money for themselves without it actually benefiting others.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say that's something that in some ways it felt like it slowed us down, but it did also keep us working towards our own greater good, like towards what was in alignment. And we didn't know any of these words. Yeah, it's funny, 2014, 2013, and I was getting hit with ads for coaches, right? But
Yeah.
at this point, I had a couple of years of, I'm sober, I had a couple of years of sobriety, I had a therapist. I'm the kind of person that can read a book. Like I'm looking at my books on my nightstand. I can read a book and integrate it. So I was like, I don't know what a coach is for. Like, so that entire world, intuition, coaching, alignment, manifestation, that seemed so pie in the sky, must be nice for them, like not interested. I
Right.
was like, I need to make money. So while we were making these moves that were ultimately intuitive, we had no idea.
Yeah.
So we're one foot in front of the other, right? And we could
Sure.
totally see God, the universe is handed things. It's like you meet somebody in a bathroom, and next thing you know, that's your boss. So we ended up working behind the scenes for this other entrepreneur, stacking all this marketing experience. And then fast forward, I was trying to scale our agency, which I left because it wasn't an agency. We were doing all the things, but we called ourselves an agency because we just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was trying to scale that. It was just like very funny because in hindsight, right? I like looking, if we look back, everything makes sense. But if we look back, we could have just been like high ticket consultants because we were right in the work we were doing. If we
Yeah.
looked at somebody saying, you're like, okay, you need a website, they come to us because they want ads, and we're like, okay, but you need a whole X, Y, and Z done, and we'll do it for you.
Right.
We didn't have to, you know what I mean? So we were doing what was like heart centered and service oriented, but unscalable for us. So the
Right.
world started to converge when I ended up in a coaching program because I wanted to scale. And I found somebody that was, how you said, like, what makes somebody tick? What's your own vortex? I found somebody that was a values alignment. I think I was pregnant with I know I wasn't even pregnant yet with my third or fourth maybe. And she was pregnant with her third, and she lived on a farm, and they were homeschooling, and they met as opera singers. So like there was so many things that I was like, perfect. She's gonna get me. I trust this. But I ended up in a space where there's all these coaches, all the people that I just totally, it was like to the foreign world, right? All these coaches, and there were only two of us that were like tech people,
Hmm.
and they didn't know how to market. And I was like, I could this, like, it just lit up everything in me because I was like, I can do this in my sleep. Like, turns out it's a perfect combination of my spiritual gifts to help people. Like, what is your big vision? The more we talk, like you said a couple of things, and I'm like, it's too bad this is your podcast because I want to interview you. Like, I want to find
Yeah.
out, right? Because I can, when I start to hear somebody speak and tell me about their story and what they're doing now, it's like little puzzle pieces drop from the sky, and I can see their big picture, and I like channel a brand message, a movement, and the
Yes.
marketing strategy. And
Yeah.
so now I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is totally spiritual work.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, all the hints were there. I just didn't know, and I didn't trust myself, and I just was waiting for people to give me permission, you know?
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so much you said there too. Like I tell people all the time, like I say the phrase I say is it's rich girl psychic era. Like it's rich psychic time because there's this perception of being psychic where it's like you have to have a crystal ball and you have to have tarot cards and you wear like gauchos and like it can be that if that's what it looks like for you, that's beautiful. But truthfully, like being psychic is like, or listening to your intuition, trusting God, tapping into source, quantum field, whatever words you want to use to describe it. It is just trusting that intuition. And I love to use the metaphor of like, if your intuition was your best friend and they were like ride or die, and they were like, if you listen to me, I'm going to make you happy, successful, smart. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to be beautiful. You're going to attract everything you've ever wanted. If you just listen to me. And you were like, okay. And then every time they talked, you said, shut up. That's not true. Stop saying that. You're making it up. You know what I mean? Like your best friend would stop talking to you. And then when you go back and you develop that like little intuition that like you're like, okay, maybe I want to listen to you. What do you have to say? It's going to be a small voice because it's been told to be quiet for so long. It'd be like, well, maybe do that or maybe do this. And then as you listen and cultivate that trust and respect, boom, intuition back online. You're listening to that best friend you have, and your psychic gifts will pop in whatever way. It's not about a crystal ball. Like for you, it's like, I can see your whole mission and branding. For me, I can see someone's highest timeline and collapse timelines to get them there. It's like expansion. So it's like, what's your psychic gift? Because everybody has one. And how are you going to be able to utilize that in your business? Because that is what you're meant to do.
I love the analogy of it being like a friend because it very much is. I'm actually curious. Did you have a period when you didn't listen to or didn't trust yours? Because I feel like I always listened to mine. I just didn't. I listened to it in personal ways, in life ways, like getting married, moving. In the business, it was almost for me. It'd be like if you had a friend and you're like, we're going to listen on everything, but when you talk about this certain subject, I'm just going to defer to somebody else. I'm going to
Yeah, yeah,
listen, but I'm going to
yeah.
defer.
Yeah.
So it was there, but it wasn't as I wasn't welcoming it in the way I am now.
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, like you said, over 10 years, you had these instances and situations where you were like moving as aligned, but you didn't use that word or know that's what was happening. And then it was like, wow, actually, if I really trust myself and go all in on this, like how big can my business explode? Yes, I've definitely had times where I've not listened to my intuition. Like my story is pretty drastic. I'm not sure like how far into my stuff you've gotten, but basically, this time last year, I was stuck, depressed, burnt out. I was a nurse practitioner that cried on my way to work, but on the outside looking in, I had the dream house, the dream job, the dream kids, the dream car, the dream husband, the dream handbag, blah, 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 blah. But I was fucking miserable. I was fucking miserable. And then one day I heard someone speak light language, which I speak, and my entire body like had a full blown physical reaction, like goosebumps, crying, like light language, like flowing through me like water. And over the period from like January to now, I have built a coaching business, started my Instagram from zero, quit my nurse practitioner job, like have revolving clients and revenue. And it's all intuition based. Everything I do is intuition based. So there's like, and something this happens with my clients too. It's like when they get that hit, that boom, that activation, I always hear spirit saying like, it's time to catch up. Like you have a lot of work to do. It's time to catch up. So like where yours has been like a slow, insidious 10-year coming in pieces and chunks, right? You have that time where you've built that foundation and platform, and it's beautiful, right? Because now you're like bringing that intuition in. For the people that have been asleep, like me and other people I work with, and it comes in like hard and fast, and they get these boom, 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 boom downloads. It's spirit saying like, "Oh, thank God you woke up." Like we've been
Wow.
waiting. So
That's
like people
amazing.
really see these like exponential results because it's like if you could tap into that intuition that you've been denying for so long and put it in your business, like watch how fast you'll fly.
That's amazing. That has to be such a wild experience for it to all come in like a waterfall.
Yeah, it was. It was. That's like a whole other podcast, but I'm curious, like for you, when you started recognizing, like when you were like, okay, this is intuition, like this is psychic ability, whatever you want to call it, like this is my superpower. How did that like change your trajectory, if it did at all, or did you just start like having more confidence in the moves that you were making?
Gosh, for us, it's funny. It was such a the I for too long I lacked enough trust in myself, in
Mhm.
the intuition. So I used it to guide so many aspects of my life, but not the business piece.
Yeah.
I would say it's only in the past few months I let it sort of inform things a little bit here and there. Like 4 years ago, when I came up with my first coaching offer, I could see it, but to me, everything still felt logical. Like this is the thing; these people need this thing. So even though, like, my husband didn't understand the point of the offer at all, he's like, I wouldn't buy it. I was like, you're not my ideal client. Like, trust me,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
got
I say
this.
that to my husband
Like,
all the time. Like, you're
yes.
not even my ideal client.
Yes, exactly. It was like not even an issue. There was no chance of bursting my bubble because I had the data, right? I
Yeah.
had the evidence and it worked. But that was such a clear, like for me, coming from this world of I was trained, like we have a 2 Comma Club award from ClickFunnels because we're really trained in like bro marketing. So
Yeah.
even as far back as 2020, I wasn't using bro marketing, but that's like the frame of reality that we learned online business in.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of time of me dancing back and forth between the two worlds. And you honestly, you can't do that. It's like you can't do that at all. If you are handing over your power to somebody like, oh, I need you to fix this. Okay, wait, no, actually, the second you hand over your power, you're out of your own alignment. So there was just a lot of that kind of thing I was susceptible to. We grew really fast in the first year of coaching. And because I'd never worked a 9 to 5 and I was new to the coaching space, I allowed myself to be ungrounded. I was like, oh, well, I don't know coaching, I don't know corporate. And so I was super susceptible to, or people that were like, okay, so I always give this example when I had people that are like, okay, so you did 40 grand in this launch. How many people viewed your webinar? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, well, how many people showed up live? I was like, maximum 3. They're like, you did a live with a maximum of 3 people and you did 40 grand in sales. So I was like, yes.
Yeah, I did.
And
Yeah, I
right. But see, the
did.
thing is, I didn't have that energy. I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, that's not duplicatable. That's not scalable. We've done it months in a row. But
Yeah.
I didn't know. So I'm listening to experts, handing over my own power. And so for me, it was like, I would listen to the intuition a little bit, and then I would be back in reality. And so that dance just costs you time, money, energy, everything. And so only in the past few months, I would say it's like earlier in the year, like January, is when I got the message for Live Delusionally because I was like, okay, well, like for me, if I can channel somebody's great message, etc., but they don't take action, that's what I was like, well, what else do they need to do? Because I was like, okay, so I need to get a certification in manifestation. I'm like, I can manifest, but I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need a certification or something. I need more tools, more like mines. I need all these tools to help other people rather than, and it's great. We love tools,
we love
but
tools in our toolbox.
and
We need a
it was
couple.
still, had I just maybe trusted myself more and said, okay, because instead of, for example, It's imagine this, if somebody comes to you for you to help them and you give them the thing that you know is the thing and they're like, oh, I don't really like that. And you're like, rather than being like, okay, there's something underneath, I can feel this, like let's discuss it. I would be like, I didn't give myself that permission. So I'd be like, okay, for 6 months I would channel new ideas. Like,
Oh,
what?
wow. Whoa.
Why are we? Yeah, 6 months. I would just
Yeah.
pour, 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 pour. And at the end, it'd be like, yeah, I had one person. It's like, I actually don't want to do my business online. I prefer brick and mortar. I'm like, if you'd have told me that in the beginning, but I didn't give myself permission. So there was this long period for me of going, okay, well, I need to incorporate like more. How do I? And it was just the necessity of permission. So when
Sure.
Live Delusionally came through, it's like, okay, I need to explain people to explain this. And then the latest thing is like, no, I don't actually need to explain. I just need to trust because a problem that I thought I had is when people would come to me and be like, I don't exactly get what you do, but I really like you. Great, come on
Mm.
in. But instead, I'd be like, well, let me explain what I do. You can like, how can we explain when this work is intuitive and we
Sure.
have years of skill and all of these things? So it's it's the more trust, like talking to an old version of myself, I'd say, oh my gosh, just trust yourself. Stop trying to explain. Just stop trying to explain
Yeah.
and just let it fly.
Yeah, and I think like I'm probably different in that like because obviously my whole business has been intuition and that's what I teach and I like want and I realized like I'd been called to go online for years and years and I call them like energetic portals to entry. Like the universe will give you energetic portals to walk through and you get to choose whether you walk through or not, but it will keep providing the opportunity, right? So like for me, I kept feeling it's called to go online, go online, go online. But if I looked at like what was available, if I looked at the strategy and the scaling and the marketing and the formula and the blah, like there's so much out there. I got this full body ick. I was like, and I just thought it was like, well, I just like it's just not my brain. Like I have a science brain. Like I'm just not gonna do that. And then now, like knowing what I know now, it's like, oh my God, like I don't have to do any of that shit that other people are doing, which is, not shit as in bad. It's just like if that works for
Yeah.
you, great, but I don't have to do any of that. I just have to like I keep getting this download today from my guides and source is that it's internal. It's internal, internal, internal. And it actually has nothing to do with external. Your external world is only a mirror of your internal reality. So what is your internal body saying? And then move as a match. And like something I also speak about with my clients is that when you were born, you had a soul goal and mission. Like your soul has a goal and mission that it's meant to accomplish in this world. So you also have soul fractal clients waiting for you. So the people that don't get it and the people don't understand the way your business works, okay, goodbye. You know what I mean? Like that
Mm-hmm.
you're just not, I don't have to explain to you what I do. If you know that we're supposed to work together, because I intuitively know when someone's in my world, like if we're gonna work together, but I don't say that because that's like, mean or rude. But like I'm just like waiting. But if you feel that call, like it's for you. And then whatever portal you're ready to jump through or whatever lessons you have to learn, like I will be here waiting and ready whenever you are. And I just think that like doing business that way, like literally it's like the pillar of manifestation, right? Like walking in the knowing that it's already done is like 80% of the work. And so you just have to show up and provide that vessel of transformation for your clients. And then the ripple effect continues, my friend.
It's so wild. It's so wild. I love how you phrase it.
Yeah. So you've been saying we, us, I'm assuming you're talking about your partner, your husband. So like what is hit and he's not your ideal client. So how is that like moving now? Like it's a joint effort, right? This is a family
Yeah.
business. So how is that working now? Is he like kind of like I'll just to paint the picture, like my husband's an engineer and he's not involved in my business like on the front end, but he does like all my tech and like I'm like, I just don't want to put, if I have to organize these wires, I will quit. And he's like, okay, I can
Yep.
organize your wires, whatever. But I'll start talking to him about this stuff. And he's like, I love you and I believe in you. Anything you touch turns to gold. But like, I don't get it. But he loves and supports me. It's the divine masculine feminine. So with you having a
Yes.
joint business venture, like, how's that?
It's very much the same now, but it was growing pains to get there. Because if you can imagine, if we started together, and in the beginning, we started in this divide and conquer model. Actually, in the very beginning, we were doing everything together because we had no kids,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
And
It's
we had
bliss,
so
baby.
much.
It's
Like, it
bliss.
was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
easy.
My
We could
God, it's
do
so easy.
so much. We had like all the, and we're waiting tables and actors.
I
Like our
love you
time was
so
so
much,
free.
honey. I never want to be
It's
without you.
we're like on trips, like brainstorming, like in our on our baby moon. We were in like the St. Thomas Virgin Islands, like in the water brainstorming, like totally that life, right?
Yeah, like first of
We've
all,
been
the word
there.
the baby moon. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
so beautiful. You
right.
deserve a
Pregnant.
baby moon for
Like,
every baby. You do. Everyone listening, you do. But I'll tell you right now, if we decided to have a third child, we would not. Like it just would not be in our cards.
oh,
But
and push presents because I'm pregnant with my fifth, and I see people that are like, "Oh, what's your push present?" And the funny thing is most women are like the baby, but there are plenty that are like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, that is so funny." He did one for my first, but that's just not even been on the radar. It's just like
yeah,
but we
priorities
did. So we
shift.
totally. So we were in that life before, right? And it was so cute. It was so fun and so beautiful. But I will say, shifting from that, and then some of the evolution felt painless, right? It's like once we had our first kid, up until I would say our first kid was like a year old, I was still doing a lot of my own tech, but like I was on the back end of WordPress once. Well, and my husband was like, I'm just gonna hire somebody. It's like, oh, thank God. And I woke up in the morning and my WordPress theme was completely changed. So that was, I would say, the point where it was like I was no longer totally in the tech.
Hmm.
And when I was pregnant with our second or our third, is when we actually lost our jobs. Our boss just ran out of funding, and we could see the writing on the wall. Still didn't make it a smooth process, or not
Yeah.
terrifying. But that's when we started our agency. But as I had the baby, it was like naturally I just went behind the scenes. So I was just doing strategy at that point. So for me to go from behind the scenes doing strategy while pregnant with a third to launching my own offer, pregnant with a fourth, that was terrifying. Like
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, everything. Because I was perfectly happy to not be a visible figure. Like perfectly happy. I was perfectly happy sharing like mom content and not like being a mom influencer because to me that's brain numbing, maybe because I've had so many kids that it's like we need to have all of life, but I liked just sharing life. So the
Yeah.
idea of showing up as a professional and the hoops that I'd created for myself because I was still within like the business world, like I had 6 months of imposter syndrome and fear because I was like, I can't do a call without my kids interrupting. People are going
Yeah.
to think
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
unprofessional, therefore I cannot do a call, rather than loosening the reality of what's possible.
Yeah.
So, and then it was like, okay, well, suddenly we have this offer that's working, and my husband's gone from being the one doing the clients. When we realized that the coaching was the thing, we shut down the entire, like, literally released clients, thousands of dollars of revenue. It was a huge leap of faith, but we knew it was the right thing. But then we go from him like feeling quite useful and masculine. We had to completely redefine what masculinity and providership looks like, which is
Yeah.
not a small
Well,
feat.
gosh, good for you guys for being aware of that. Like how many people
Oh,
like
yeah.
just like fight and fight it and fight it. It's like, no, you get to decide like what that looks like for you and what a partnership looks like. And so like good for you for having that awareness because that really bites
Yeah.
people in the ass.
So we've had huge role reversals, and I mean, we view life as an experiment. We know that we're soul partners. Our angel team got us work to get us together. So we have all of that knowledge, which I think makes it easier in some ways because it's just like, okay, so what are we doing? What are we supposed to do? Like, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
Because it's like there was a point when we were plant-based and I was just all day in the kitchen and I liked it. It was just fine, right? I had all the food. We had like a nanny, we had help. It was beautiful. And now he's the one that does all the cooking.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, I'll be like, honey, get up because I need to meditate now so that I can get in. And so while
Okay, but let's
he
pause
is,
right there. Let's put a pin in
yeah,
that. Like, guys,
yeah, yeah.
your business isn't like flowing the way you want to. Do you have meditation time scheduled in your Google Calendar? Because that's it. Like I have it scheduled in my calendar. It's a no, no, do not disturb. No one can schedule it. No one can interrupt me. That is essential to running my business.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's I had to get that message 3 times from people recently when I was like, how do I, because if I was asking a question, I'd asked it in this mastermind I'm in, I asked it, and within 2 or 3 days, the answer came 3 times it comes through. It's your intuition. Are you meditating? And I was like, okay, well, I think because we moved 2 months ago. So I've meditated. When they asked me, I was like, I meditated yesterday for the first time in 2 months. And that's the answer. Everybody, it kept coming through meditation. You have the answer. It's like, okay, so I need to shut up. I just need to shut up and meditate
Yeah.
so that it can
Get
come
out of
through.
my
So that's
own
the
way.
answer.
Yeah.
Yes, always that.
Always that. Always, it's always that. Like if we could just get our egos like out of the way and lean into the flow, it always works out. Okay, so it looks like you guys have figured out a way to merge like the masculine, feminine, redefine it, still be in business together and collaborate. But like, let's not forget, like you have 4 kids, you're pregnant with your
Mhm.
fifth, and you homeschool them. Is that real? Okay.
It is. It's a lot. He does most of the homeschooling right now.
Okay.
And then once we're out of the Airbnb, like we've had nannies and we've had childcare and housekeepers, and we've done like every version of it.
Hmm.
So this isn't the permanent, like him schooling the kids this way isn't the permanent. We'll probably have somebody else do it or have somebody in to help field the kids. So, but the other thing that I've realized is every few months ish, I think the phases slow down some as they're getting older,
Hmm.
but about like every few months, what work shifts.
Sure.
So it's kind of like what might not, we just remain open because we go, this is fine for now, but it's not what's going to work necessarily in the future. So in this case, we're like, once we're in our landed in our place,
Yeah.
then we'll figure out what the next iteration of help is. Like right now, we have a housekeeper that comes once a month, and then
Love
we
her.
have a nanny that comes for
You're
like
probably in
pickup
love with her.
shifts.
I'm in love with
Yeah,
my
she's
housekeeper. Oh my
amazing.
God. I'm like, I love you. When are you coming back? I love her.
Yes. Yes. I'll tell the very first time, in case anybody listening doesn't have a housekeeper, I thought that like I got such a sense of fulfillment from having the house clean, from cleaning it myself. Turns
Yeah.
out you get the same sense of fulfillment when somebody else does it.
Right, that's amazing. Yeah, so I was homeschooled up until 6th grade. And so I'm like pro homeschooling and I know like what schooling looks like. I love that, like you're saying, like what works now may work later. And like I think about that with my kids too. Like my oldest, they're 4 and 6, they're very young. So the oldest just started kindergarten and the youngest does go to preschool every day because he just thrived. They both like really thrive there. And when they were home with me, I actually started my business when they were home with me. And so that became very I could just tell they were bored. And so it just
Mhm.
it's like about what works for your family in the moment and like the beauty of doing your soul work, a beauty of like showing up in the way that you're meant to show up for your clients and for the world is that the universe will support you. So whatever way that iteration of help looks like for you in that season is how it gets to be. And something that I talk about a lot for those people who haven't jumped the gun and like gotten a house cleaner or hired help for babysitting or whatever it is that, the universe wants to support you. So I hesitated to put them in daycare or I hesitated to hire a house cleaner because I didn't have clients. Right. And I was like, well, if I do that, then how am I going to afford it? Like whatever. But the point is like when you move as a match for your desires, the universe will support you. Like how much more free time did I get and how much more clarity did I receive? How much more did my nervous system feel regulated? And I was able to then like just move in expansion because I had the space to breathe. So if anyone's listening, like that's on your radar, if you desire help and you know that having some help and support will get you to your soul led goal faster, move as a match for it. Like don't get in that scarcity frequency, get into that abundance, move as a match and the universe will meet you. Full stop. Because
I
moms
had that
deserve to be
exact same
supported.
I had the same experience actually. In 2020, we had released all of our childcare because pandemic, I was pregnant and I was behind the scenes in the business. And so it was like, it's fine. So when I went to launch my own offer, I realized I didn't have the time to do it
Mhm.
without childcare. But in that gap, I had created this feeling of unworthiness because I wasn't the one bringing in money anymore at
Yeah.
all. And so it was very much this, I'm not making money. I need to make money before I hire childcare. And I did have a mindset coach that was like, I'm sorry, Sasha,
Yeah.
mindset. She's like, the childcare is for the family. It helps
Yeah.
the family. I was like, oh, you know what? You're right. And so that when with that framing, it's like, oh, it does. It helps the family, housekeeping, house cleaning, all of it. It helps the family, therefore, and then yes, it creates the openness for us to pursue what we're supposed to.
Yeah.
We have to
And
unwire
like this,
the money
yeah,
from it.
the space and it's all about like nervous system regulation. So like one of my clients, we worked through this like her first session. I remember her being like, um, her being like, yeah, I'm doing that, da, 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 I'm doing all the things. And just everyone's saying no. And the very first question I asked her was like, how do you benefit from not getting clients? And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I don't want any because I'm so stressed and I don't have childcare and I don't, and it's like, yeah, like your energy, you could show up and this is the difference between bro marketing and intuitive marketing. You could show up every day, post a story, make the post, have the offer, on point sales page, paying for the ads, whatever it is. And if your energy is like, if your nervous system's not regulated, you're just actively repelling everyone
Yeah.
away from your offer and your services. And so if it takes like an investment in your family and in your home to regulate your nervous system a little bit, like you got to sometimes move with the knowing that that future timeline exists and then watch it all, like just boom, 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 drop in.
It's exactly that.
Yeah. How life hacks with Sasha and Kathleen. Here we are for you.
Yeah.
So with with doing all of that, like, okay, 2 comma club, 4 kids, fifth on the way, partnership with your husband, like you guys have obviously made it work. I know a lot of people really struggle with that partnership business interaction. Like that's not even all that you do. Like are you still acting?
Yeah, like last night
Okay.
we went to a comedy show invited by our agents. Yeah.
Nice.
We
Okay.
have in like 2 weeks. So we act as a family, and separately. My husband and I, because we met as actors, we came back to LA. Um, our agent at the time, we've switched agents, but our agent was like, well, there's a lot of work for families. So do you want to sign up your kids? We're like, sure. We'll see how it goes. And so in our first time acting, back to acting, we booked 23 jobs in the year. Like,
Jeez.
so we have right
By the
now
way, I have like no barometer or like bar for like if that's a lot. It seems like a lot to me,
it's
but
a lot.
okay.
It's a
I'm
lot.
like,
So
wow,
we
but I have
have
actually no context for what that number is. So if a lot,
I
I believe you.
it's more than I'd worked like in my life.
Interesting.
It's a lot, which meant it was completely within alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Do you
was
feel
very,
more
very
pulled?
wild.
Do you feel more pulled to that space or the coaching space, or do you really you're just splitting wherever you feel aligned at the moment?
It's I dance between it. To me, they're both similar in that they're creative pursuits and they're both things that must be done with vision and yes, some strategy, but like what's your intuitively aligned vision and holding the vibe or the picture of what's possible and trusting that and detaching from time outcomes. So they're very, very similar in those regards. Like right now, because I'm pregnant, I'm not worried about anything acting wise. What comes to me comes to me because
Right.
I'm not shooting new headshots. I'm softer than my photos. I'm in a different era, but I know that it's temporary. So, depending on what's happening, I will take action in them differently. Maybe feel like I'm pursuit isn't exactly the right word, but maybe I'll be more open the channels more energetically towards one or the other.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, that's kind of like a generator spirit, right? You said your human design is generator.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's always
yeah.
just like churning in the background and then moving like as aligned, right? Amazing.
Exactly that. Yeah, my husband's a generator too, so we're like busy bees.
Oh, you guys got a lot going on.
We do, but it's funny because we have two projector kids, our older two, so
Oh,
we
that's
have to
kind of nice.
we build in that time for them, for their quiet, for their rest, for their. They'll be like, can especially my oldest will be like, can I have a day at home? Because she's 9. I just need a day at home. Like, that's fine. Okay. So
Okay.
we build all that in.
I've heard too, like some parents will do like they'll parent to the child's human design. And like I've been meaning for a while to look my kids up. I could probably tell you right now, one's a projector and one's a mani gen, but I would have to look it up. But I've heard that they kind of use it to everyone's advantage. So for example, with you guys both being generators and having 2 projectors, like you could explain a situation to them and they would literally like reflect it back to you or like project what they want done back to you. And I just think that's a really like new age way of parenting, but so beautiful, right? Because so many people with human design, and I'm by no means an expert, feel so seen after they discover their human design and recognize like, oh, like when I structure my life, my business, my day, my time around this framework, I feel so full and like peaceful. And so as an adult, we know that. So why wouldn't we like use that with our children and give them the opportunity to feel that peace from an early on where like me, I'm not going to speak for both of us, but me, it was like, I'm being pulled in a direction that's not mine, you know? So we get to
Mm-hmm.
like do that for our children, which I think is great.
What is your human design?
I'm Manny Jen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
my husband is the projector, which is like perfect because like
yeah.
I'm always like, pum, 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 and he's like, just please, like, like, we're just going to root it down or like, we just need a minute.
Yes.
And I think it really works for, I found that Manny Gens actually work really well with projectors because, but
Yes.
the Manny Gens feel like you're always in opposition, but they're not, they're just keeping you grounded, really.
Yeah, I love the just all the collaborative things that human design pulls forward. For me, every single person in my house has a 3 line or a 6 line, which means everybody in our family learns trial and error, falling on their face, which means
Oh,
we don't have as much expectation of the kids necessarily listening to us and go, there is no I told you. It's like
yeah.
we can tell them, but they're going to learn on their own. So that sort of thing, human design makes it so much easier in many ways.
Yeah. And then I also tell like my clients if they're struggling, because the big thing that comes up is for moms with my clients is like, oh, I just feel like I don't have enough time. Or like, I feel like, they're always being pulled, which moms inevitably feel that way at some point in your life or motherhood, you felt that way. But I always remind them, like, okay, so you know that you were born with the soul-led mission and purpose. You decided on it before you ever got here. You decided to be born in the family that you were born in. You decided to take on the problems that you like, that, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, so did your kids. They chose to be born in exactly where they are to learn the lessons that you're bringing them. Like, how beautiful that you're aware. Like, my parents weren't aware. My parents weren't conscious. They did amazing. They did what they had to do. They did what like whatever the 90s gave them, you know? But like
Mm-hmm.
being a conscious mother and like already being like understanding that piece about yourself, and then you get to do it for your kids. Like, how amazing. It's just super.
It's such a wild gift. It's funny because my husband will just laugh like sometimes the things out of our kids' mouth, and he's like, "This is our parenting, okay,
Okay, this is it. We signed up. They
okay."
signed up. We're all signing up. We're all under contract here,
Yeah, it's
Soul
very
contracts coming in
very
hot.
funny. Yes.
Amazing. I was going to ask you something else. Hold on. This is my Manny Jen at work here. Oh, do you utilize like human design? I use gene keys with my clients. I really love because I work with frequency energy, but do you use any of that with your clients or like tell us a little bit about like the process of working with you, like what a client can expect, who is your ideal client or your avatar, or like tell us a little bit about that.
I do use human design. Human design for me, finding out that I was a 3-5 generator was literally life changing.
Yeah.
Um, like I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense.
Hmm.
I feel human design, if somebody is in that space where it feels like a lot of things aren't working, that can really collapse time. Like for me, the 5 line, understanding that people are projecting a lot on me, being able to embrace that, accept that, and reframe it. It's like, okay. So depending on the person, like I have a client and she is so spiritually attuned that she's more like, I would compare it to an alien. She's like not very much in her, I would say, in her human. So the human
Sure.
design isn't really as relevant for her because she's not operating in that plane. So
Yeah.
depending what plane
She's
people
in
are,
the ninth dimension, sister. She's out, and that's great. We love that for her. Yeah.
so she doesn't need it.
Yeah.
So, but when we're talking about her child, perhaps we might bring that in and go, okay, like let's to give a perspective on his human experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, depending on where someone is, I feel into everything, honestly. But human design is a fantastic tool. For what feels like getting unstuck.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it also helps
Yeah.
as a coach too. Like I feel like again, Gene Keys is, have you ever heard of Gene Keys?
Yes. And
Okay,
I have
so
ours printed out somewhere, but I haven't done a deep dive in that.
yeah, well, it's what I love about it is so I work with quantum energy frequency, right? And with the gene key, you have 11 gene keys and you can fluctuate between these gene keys, the frequency. So there's city, which is the highest like frequency, gift, which is when you've like are aware of your shadow, and then shadow, which is like your subconscious operating system. And you're never like, no one is ever, I don't want to say ever, but we're not continuously holding the city frequency energy across all 11 gene keys all the time. That would be full transcendence, right? So you can fluctuate in between. And it's like, that's like my whole thing is quantum energy. What are you attracting? What are you bringing in? What timeline are you embodying? So I have clients that really go into what I provide them and we discuss it, right? And we have like journaling and bringing the shadow to light and embodying it. But also as a coach, it's beautiful for me to have that in front of me so that I can see like what's going on. Like I'm like, wow, we've talked about that. I know that she knows this. I know that they know this. Where
Mm-hmm.
is it? And then I can go back in their keys and be like, oh, okay, let's discuss your culture key again. Cause I think we need to like go back to that. So it's like
Oh,
it's
that
a tool
sounds
both
so
ways.
fun.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun. I'm going to have to I'm gonna
You
have to
gotta,
look at that.
yeah, you gotta get your gene
So
keys.
yes. So for me, it actually feels hard to describe because and oftentimes people come to me because they want help with the marketing, but marketing is just a channel, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I call it lead domino or first fire, like which one, depending on where the person is, what's what we're going to start with. So if people have done a lot of work and they've cleared things out already, then it's lead domino. What's the thing that you're going to do that's going to make everything move?
Mm,
And if
nice.
they, or it's first fire, what is the first fire that needs to be put out for everything else to work more smoothly? So those are kind of the two triage points. Uh, and then from there, it's so funny. I think about like how, with your background as a nurse practitioner, when you enter the hospital for childbirth, and the first thing is to just check you. How dilated are you? And that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
determines
just see where you're at.
what direction. Yes. So from there, it depends what direction are we going in. As a generator, I love the variety of because my husband was like, he's like, let's redefine your because he does have all the masculine. He's like, let's redefine like what is your ideal client? And I'm like, I like everybody. He's like, Sasha, the universe is gonna give you what you request.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't want
He's like,
everybody, sis. You don't want
I
everybody.
know.
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, I like variety. He's like, Sasha, you still need to specify. I'm like, fine, okay, fine.
I
We'll go
love
with
you say he's like
boundaries.
in his masculine and he's like, the universe will give you what you request. Like dead serious. Like it's like,
So serious. Okay, this is us the other night. So Target has for $25, highly recommend these if you have more than one kid, these Mondo Llama coloring boxes.
oh
It's
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
huge
Love them.
so we have one of those. So the other night I'm sitting on the floor. The kids are down for bed, mind you. I'm sitting on the floor coloring, and he's over there like, Sasha, the universe. He goes, do you think if you say to the universe you want anyone, they're going to respond? I was like, fine,
Right.
fine, because I will be. So I know the things, and yet I'll be like, but I'm more being fun. He's like, Sasha, define it. So, so lately, I was like, okay, so CEOs and founders, people that are in their leadership,
Yeah.
that want things to feel easier. Now, I love like I something that I've done forever is like I love helping somebody create what is the big vision, what is the thing that labels that helps everything become more clear. So then everything lines up like your little dominoes for your strategies, all of the strategies. What is your online? Suddenly that becomes clear,
Sure.
right? Now, the more plugged into intuition people are, oftentimes they already know it.
Yeah.
Like my alien friend,
Love her.
her, she has the name of a lot of her stuff done, but she didn't have a tagline that worked for the more corporate space.
Oh, I
For
see.
when she gets asked by the big name companies to come in and speak, she didn't have a clear messaging and target for that. So that came
Mhm.
through for me. She's like, oh. So I was like, that just came through, right? So
Yeah.
that comes through. But then I, working with her, I see like, okay, but here's this thing. Are you going to be ready for when this thing happens? And she's like, well, when that happens, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
this thing happens,
I'm not
I'm
there
going
yet.
to do I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this instead. And I'm like, yeah,
Good luck.
that's the difference between a million and like 10 million. That really terrifying thing that you're like, I don't want to. That's the thing. So that's working with an alien, and then working with like a regular person. There's more of the putting out of the fires and more of the defining of the things because they don't have those defined yet.
Yeah. That's amazing. So you have an alien and then you have everyone else. Okay. Those are your ideal
Yeah.
clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. Yeah. Because my
How
people
bold
are,
and brave though. It's so funny. Like you're saying, whoever this client is, the alien that's like, I don't want to do it. Like you're so embodied that you're like presenting your alienship to corporate sponsors, but then also you're like afraid of
yes.
whatever that next thing is, girl, like it cannot be any more wild than what you're already doing. Like, so if you're listening to this, be alien, like download those codes. Like, oh, it's so great. Um,
Yes. People
okay.
often know their scariest thing. They know that they often know it. So that's the thing that happens a lot is I'll say it and they're like, oh, I was hoping I wouldn't have to. I'm like, yeah, you already know it. So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
how
yeah.
do we
You just
normalize
said
it?
that, and it was like me. It was showed what I'm like
You know,
hesitating. I'm like, God darn it, okay, fine. Yeah.
every time it's always that son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
So
I'm like,
for everyone
yeah.
listening, mine is interdimension channeling. I haven't come out and spoken about that. I will step into that here today. Now I'm getting there. Okay. I just have to refine it before I show up on social media
Oh,
doing it.
you're there. You're there. Do you want to know what mine is right now?
What is
Mine
yours?
is healing with my hands. That came through in a
Oh,
session that
so
I could move
amazing.
energy with my hands when a block comes up. And I'm like, I'm not
Yes.
doing, I'm like, I am not doing it right now. I've never done it. I'm going to stay focused. And they're like, heal with your hands. I'm like, I
Yeah.
will do no such thing.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like you and I always say this too in my courses and classes, like you don't need another certification. You don't need like I love people who do Reiki if you do Reiki and it's amazing. I've heard beautiful, wonderful things, but I am not Reiki certified. I heal with my hands and I heal with light energy because I have trained for lifetimes. I have ancient knowledge like locked inside of me that I have let come through. And this is not your first time healing with hands and it won't be your last time. So if you feel that movement through, like I know you know this, but find a couple people that you can work on and with your friends, do a couple Zoom sessions with your one-on-one clients. Like I want to introduce this new modality and just move that stuff. Like we are so, I have to say, this is my soapbox. We are like 5 generations disconnected from energetic healing or energetic work, right? And those 5 generations of people now have 5 generations, like we have 5 generations of energy healing stuck inside our bodies. Like, you want to know why you feel disconnected, broken, and not attached to everything? It's because for 5 generations, we have missed out on this very ancestral, ancient practice that we just shut down. And now we are being awoken again, and we got to move all of that like generational stuff out of the way. So it can be a little scary, but girl, we got to do it. We got to move that stuff out of people because we've been holding on to it for way too long.
And you know what's wild is that for us as conscious parents, I find that, the interest that I had when I was little in telepathy and all those things is kind of like I had logical parents. My dad's literally an astronaut. Like it
Yeah.
was just science.
He's
Science is
logical.
what's real,
Mhm.
and everything else is like,
Yeah.
it's just fake. I have kids, my older two. My oldest is fascinated with witchcraft, like has
Yeah.
books, wants to do spells. We went to evangelical Christian church for 7 years. This
Mhm.
is her sole thing. I did not, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
And then my 7-year-old boy, hypnotism. That
Beautiful.
is like the
Oh,
rabbit hole that he is down. And that's because we're conscious parents and we're
yeah.
everything is possible and real. Who knows what's going to happen for these magical beings, you know?
Oh, I cannot wait. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Yeah. And it's like really like I had really Catholic parents. And so like that was
Yes,
like the devil and like don't do that. And
totally.
like, yeah, like you that's wrong, like that's wrong, that's bad. Like I don't want to hear about like when I came out like a psychic, it was like a a thing. Like it was a
Mhm.
problem. And you know what, we're coming up on the holidays. I think we're recording this before Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like it is pretentious, like it is, what am I trying to, contentious for me to go to Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I've been invited, my children have been invited, we're going, and I'm going with love in my heart, but it is just like, and because it's like, it's not, they're not mad at me or angry at me, right? It's fear. They're afraid. They're angry
Yes.
at themselves for being afraid and then just projecting. And so I'm accepting that and know that I'm healing like the lineage for my family and just showing them like actually this is just like I'm still me. Like I'm not in a psych ward. Like I'm still me. I still have a master's degree. I still shower in the morning and my kids go to school and I put dinner on the table. Like it's just all of me. And then there's all of you that's like ready to come out. And like we can say that about our kids. We can say that about our clients. We can say that about the industry at large. Like there is this awakening occurring, and it's just like you, me, other coaches that do this type of work. This is the forefront. I truly believe like this is the next step. This is the next step. And as Pluto moved into the age of Aquarius, like things are going to shift so much in 2025 for everyone.
Absolutely. I think about on the wall in our, so we have all these charts because we're those kind of parents.
Yeah.
And we have, besides multiplication and a map of the world, we have the 10 commandments and the 12 laws of the universe.
Beautiful.
It's both. It's
Yeah.
opening the sense of possibility and again the permission because I was also raised Catholic.
Mm,
I've never seen a single one of like practical magic, Ouija boards, none of that. It was
mm.
all and I look back and I know it's because I come from a lineage of sensitive women, but without
Right.
any tools, you just go, nope, I'm gonna stay focused here because that's what's safe.
Yeah.
So with that difference, it's like with my child that was learning about witchcraft, my husband and I are like intention, grounding. We're going to learn as a family before you're doing casting of spells. It's such a different level of awareness and permission that we're all able to create.
Yeah.
And but what you said about it being uncomfortable, I am sure that if and when my family finds out about my children's fascinations,
Oh, they don't
I
know
will be,
yet. Okay, good. This will be
they
good.
don't
Yeah.
know. I will be explaining and framing it.
Yeah. Because that discomfort is really their discomfort, right? Like that discomfort
Mm-hmm.
is their discomfort and how much of them, how long they have been uncomfortable denying that part. Because when you say like, like you said, they don't have the tools, so they've been narrow focused, like then the focus was religion. And then religion
Mm-hmm.
for me is so disempowering. It can be so disempowering. And it's not anybody's like, I really need to make this distinction. It's not anybody's fault within the church, whatever religion you're in, whatever like ancient texts that you read and prescribe, because there is beautiful information to be gleaned from there. So let's use Catholicism as an example. The priest is doing his absolute best to lead that church, hopefully, right? Doing his
Yep.
absolute best to lead that church. My parents did their absolute best to lead me with the tools that they had. But in somewhere along the way, we've disempowered people. And so that it becomes for the lineage of sensitive women that you've been a part of, the church has been their one in, like their one thing to like feel that sensitivity and cultivate it. And so for you to
Mm-hmm.
come in and then to like disrupt it or to like raise awareness about like how it's the same, it feels uncomfortable, but it's their discomfort. And it's my job, like you said, to be in my truth. Why? Because it gives other people permission to be in their truth. And it's
And the
all
idea
about
that
that permission.
so much more is possible instead of just saying no. It's how do we deal with, and this is a parallel for business as well, is instead of just saying no, it's okay. If this thing happens, whatever the worst case is in witchcraft, in spirituality, and business, how can I handle that? It's the empowerment piece.
Yeah. And resiliency. Like it's all like it for everyone, right? For you, the kids, the parents, the church, the tarot, like it's all about resiliency. I love that. So, 2025, this is the best time of year. Again, we're recording before Thanksgiving because every entrepreneur is launching out their 2025 or like looking into 2025. So, what does your 2025 look at like if you're listening to this and you're like, I've got to work with Sasha. She's got all the pieces that my puzzle. I feel that pull towards her. What does working with you look like? And what do you have in store for 2025?
It's funny because I'm having my baby, and for me, pregnancy is my incubation period. That a lot of people take a break when they have the baby. As soon as the placenta and the baby are out, I'm a new person. So for me,
Same.
Yes, I am so, like, I'm not doing all of my usual year-end things, although I am doing Black Friday, which I am excited about because intuition, it's like, do it. Like, okay, we're gonna get wild here. So
Yeah.
going into next year, I don't have a crazy year planned. It's so streamlined, like three basic ways to work with me. I have my membership. It's a sugar baby membership. So be the sugar baby of your life and business. And
Mm-hmm.
I do three live coaching calls a month because I do believe that programs are better when you can actually bounce ideas off of somebody. So I
Yeah.
have access to my best messaging and online marketing and my manifestation program. So hand selected programs, not sometimes you sign up for a membership and there's like 35 programs. Not that. It's
Yeah.
about five programs, three live calls, and then I do a live experience each month. So that's the Sugar Baby membership. And then I have my VIP, which is where you come in for a deep dive session. That is like 5 hours of deep work with me spread out over a month in whatever way works for the person.
Cool.
And then there's ways to go into ongoing retainer work with me as well. So those are the three ways. Everything is available through the retainer work and the one-on-one. We would do a call first. The membership is come on in, but all of that's on the what'sgood.co website. What's
Okay.
good with two U's.
Okay.
Those are the three ways.
Okay, beautiful. Well, we'll have everything linked in the show notes, and then, you and I will talk and get whatever we need to get to be promoted and all those things. It's so nice to see someone who's been in the business for so long know and recognize and integrate this next level. Like, again, like I started, mine's been a wham bam. It's been a year. I've had a beautiful year of change, growth, evolution, and building my business. And I've only done it this way. And I came in as a newbie and saw immediately like, oh, whoa, 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 like we gotta shift. And you have been it for 10 years and you've taken the steps and you've moved, and then you're like, whoa, 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 like it's time to move in alignment. Like it's just beautiful to see that evolution of business, and someone who's been it for a long time. So lets me know that I'm
Thank
on track,
you.
and lets me know that like everybody else is
Yes.
like really stepping into this next level of business.
Yeah. Can I tell you, when we first started, you could grow an Instagram account by circling through five subjects with pretty pictures.
Oh my God.
Like, you could just, here's your photo about family and fitness and faith and fun, like, and food. Like, you could grid five in a
Follow.
row. And like, yes, I mean, it's the evolution of humanity is insane. And it's like that's what we follow, not the algorithm, not online practices. Follow your internal evolution
Yeah.
because that's the thing that's most effective now, which is wild as somebody who learned all the traditional rules.
Yeah. And I mean, because you don't know all my story, I know my people who listen to this that are familiar with me, they'll know. Like in 6 months, I grew my Instagram from 0 to 10K. I like have reels that hit 1 million. I have like sold out programs, all these things. And it's not because I took like the bro marketing digital like one-on-one course, right? It's because I trusted that whisper and like leaned in all the fucking way and
Yes.
watched like my world shift. And so like that is how I know it's possible. I know. And it's happening for my clients. It's happening for your clients, I'm sure. Like when you trust your intuition, acknowledge their best friend status, and cultivate that relationship with self, like how beautiful does that
It's
get to be?
amazing. You're like this amazing beacon of light. It's
Yeah.
so cool to see.
Thanks. So are you, though. I mean, it's just like,
Thank
it's just
you.
thanks. But like, I just feel like anybody, and the big thing though is like, whenever I struggle to take a compliment, thank you for that.
You're
Whenever you
welcome.
are like in this work, it becomes not about you. Like it's never like this is a much greater mission. This is a much greater what am I trying to say? There's something over it all, whether you call it quantum.
I call it a biological imperative. Like it's the biological imperative for growth, but then it's once you've peeked behind the curtain and you're like, oh, there's other things at play, then it becomes like it's like suddenly your soul lights up and you're like, and now this is the way.
And now this is the way. And it's just my job to attract the clients that I'm meant to attract. This is what I was born for. So beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Vortex. Thank you for telling us about your Vortex. I'm so happy to have been a part of it today. And I'll have everything linked and how you can connect with Sasha and her beautiful, beautiful offers. You guys have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Thanks for listening.